Thanks for joining us and welcome back to the Watchman on the Wall podcast. Periodically, we'll bring you true stories of angelic encounters, heavenly visitations, near-death experiences, as well as modern-day prophecies that are relevant to us today. When we come back, we'll begin our next episode. Hello and welcome back. This week, Pastor Dana Coverstone talks about his previous dreams dealing with the economy and a financial crisis that is not only coming, but he says is already here. So here now is Pastor Dana Coverstone.
I want to take you back to last year, Tuesday night, June 23rd, and I want to share a dream that many of you already know and have heard, but I want to read it to you again because I've been walking back through my dreams. Tuesday night, June 23rd, I dreamt that I'd gone to the local bank in town. Walking into the bank, I saw a sign on the door that said, "We have no change." I noted the sign in the dream, but still walked in despite the sign. The president of the bank was the teller there, and I requested $10 in quarters. She said she was sorry, but the bank no longer has change because the Federal Reserve is no longer minting change. At this point, I asked, well, how can I charge $1.50 for something? And she said, and I quote, you'll have to charge $2 because hyperinflation is coming. And then she said, oh, and by the way, $1 and $5 bills will follow soon, or soon follow too. It was 2 days later. Well, I had that dream in June, put the video out the next day, on Wednesday, June 24th, and within a week it had 1 million hits. It's over 3 million now, and the numbers keep coming to me, and I'm still overwhelmed by that. But I want you to know that after I put that dream out on Wednesday, 2 days later, signs started going up around this country. There were 3 articles about a coin shortage going back to 2017, 2018, 2019. A lot of people said, oh, you just did this because you had a coin. I shared a dream. That was all I did. The other part of the dreams where I saw a fist hit November 3rd. I believe, and some people say, well, the UN soldiers aren't here yet. I believe the fist punch in November was the beginning of all these things and the difficulties that we're seeing and have seen into 2021. So I preface what I'm about to say with those statements and those things. I want to read you something from Sunday, May the 2nd, that was spoken by Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett says we are already seeing inflation and hyperinflation, and he warns of inflation risks amid red-hot recovery from pandemic. That's UK Guardian. Most other news agencies carried that. From the Zero Hedge on Monday, Kalanovic, most are unprepared for the coming economic earthquake. For the past 2 years, J.P. Morgan's head quantitative and residential perma-bull person Marco Culvins has been periodically predicting an imminent rotation out of growth into value stocks. So here's the real key. Fast forward to today. When in his latest attempt to time the biggest market rotation of all, the Croat published a note titled Positioning for Inflation. I'm going to also read you a list of some things that have been increasing, okay? 1 year ago, May 1st, I'm going to tell you what the significant changes are in the financial industry and in products. In the last year, lumber has increased by 265%. Matter of fact, the article's out today said if you want to build a brand new 2,500 square foot house, you just added $36,000 in lumber. Now that $36,000 was $24,000 a month ago. So it keeps increasing. WTI crude is up 210% from last year. Brent crude is up 163% from last year. Heating oil is up 107% from last year. The cost of corn is up 84%. Now think about everything that corn is used to manufacture, to make for food in the industry, whatever. Copper is up by 83%. Soybeans are up by 72%. Silver is up by 65%. Sugar, and just think about all the things that sugar is needed for as far as the baking and cakes and food. Sugar is up 59%. Cotton is up 54%. Platinum is up 52%. Natural gas is up 43%. Palladium is up 32%. Wheat up 19%, and coffee is up 13%. Now here's the thing. You may not realize this, but gasoline is not typically involved in the inflation process. But if we took the numbers that we have right here, right now. Oh, hang on. Let me tell you something else that just came up. Get this off my phone. This was published at 10:50 a.m. Eastern Time in Zero Hedge. Iron ore and steel hit all-time high as monster commodity rally breaks records. Well, most of the attention in recent days is focused on copper and its value going up. Overnight, both iron ore and steel climbed to records as Chinese investors returned from a 3-day holiday and sparked a furious rally. Spot iron ore prices topped $200 a ton for the first time ever. Topped $200 a ton for the first time ever. It's the highest it has ever been. As futures in Singapore and China climbed, iron ore with 62% content hit $201.15 a ton on Thursday, according to MySteel. Futures in Singapore jumped as much as 5.1% to 196.40 a ton, to the highest since contact tracks were launched in 2013. So we are seeing, here's what else it says. The story is familiar. Steel demand is soaring as economies emerge from COVID lockdowns, just as the world's biggest miners have been hampered by operational issues curbing ore supply. And you may also realize that there's a huge infrastructure bill that's trying to be passed right now. That is trillions and trillions of dollars. And most of that will be roads and buildings and bridges and processes that are going to need steel and iron. And right now, as that bill is trying to be passed, it is the highest steel will ever has been. Iron ore has never been this high before in recorded history. So here's the thing. If we were to take those things right now and we base it on inflation in the 80s style, way it was done, which I believe was a better way to judge inflation, we would be in double-digit territory at the moment. In other words, there is a whole lot of stuff happening financially. You're also seeing now some reports that there's going to be a shortage of chicken. That restaurants are struggling, like Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bojangles. Chicken restaurant, I hope not Chick-fil-A. Please no, not Chick-fil-A. But there's a chicken shortage. There's shortages, food shortages that are being talked about all the time. And we are seeing hyperinflation. We're seeing hyperinflation. There's no doubt about it. Go to the grocery store and come back and tell me you're not seeing inflation. Tell me you're not seeing increases and raises in every single thing you're buying. And you may not be paying as much for cereal, but look at the size of the box. Matthew 24 is typically an end times event chapter, but I want you to look at this from a financial aspect. Okay? You'll be hearing of wars and rumors of wars, so you're not frightened. Well, when there's wars and rumors of wars, it was brought this week that Australia, a leaked document said that they figure they're going to be at war with China soon. No timeline, but nonetheless, they reflect that there may be a war with China. Nation will rise against nation. Anytime you have war, you have economic impact and conflict. Kingdom against kingdom. Make that even worse. Multiply that times 10. And in various places, famines and earthquakes. They're calling for a super drought, or calling a super drought is going to be happening in the southwestern part of the country. Now think about that. A drought out there will impact everything else. A drought in the Southwest also involves Southern California, where a lot of vegetables and things are raised. But famines and earthquakes. Earthquakes disrupt services. Earthquakes disrupt sewer, water, gas, electrical. All those things have a financial impact on you. Let's go back down to Texas, southern Texas, several months ago. What did a couple days of ice and snow do to the economy there? What did it do to trucking and shipping? But these things, Jesus says, remember the beginning of the death pangs. At that time, many will fall away, deliver one up another, many false prophets, because lawlessness is increased. When you have lawlessness, there's a financial impact. There's a financial impact when people don't want to come to your community or your area because of crime, because there's fear. And people won't go out and get things, and deliveries can't happen. There's a lot of things happening. He goes on down. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let him who is on the housetop not go down to get the things that are in his house. Wow. When you see what's coming, run. That's what he's saying. Jesus is saying, when you see these things, and yes, some of this happens during the tribulation, and this is not going to be an argument about the tribulation, okay? We know the four horsemen bring their own kind of death and judgment and financial impact. But I want us to look at it's not just looking at the news, it's what do you feel? If you're looking out there right now at prices, things are going up, and there is no doubt about it. The headlines are screaming it out. I'm just going to pull up a couple. I know Drudge Report has changed their leadership and things, but the thing I like about Drudge Report is it just gives you headlines. That's all it is. It's just headlines. Chicken shortages send prices soaring, and restaurants can't keep up. Here's another one. Groceries getting more expensive. And in case you didn't see this is out of Chicago. Pastor and wife savagely attacked by a man with a shovel on a Chicago street. Suspect bit off parts of their ears and gouged them in the eyes. This was a pastor and his wife. The wife she's a special needs teacher in the school. The pastor's been there for years. They reach out to their community. They pray. They work. They meet the needs, and they get attacked like this. Church in Boston, a statue of Jesus was beheaded outside the church. But you just look at the headlines and you see some of the things that are going on. Things are happening. Things are happening financially. And one of the things that I shared, last year when I said the dream, I encourage people to get storable food. I encourage people to watch, what you were doing with your dollars. And I never said, hey, do this. I said, pray about it. And I think everybody knows I said, pray about it. I've got a friend that I buy silver off of, and he has told me I've given his number to several people who have contacted me. And even now he's having trouble getting silver. He's having trouble, it's back ordered for 4 or 5 weeks. Silver took a slight jump this morning, but silver is up 65% from what it was last year. And we realize that as hyperinflation comes, and as they keep printing money, at some point, you have to pay the piper.
We'll be right back after this message. Hello again. This is the Watchman. Please join us each week for an exciting and inspirational podcast dealing with angel encounters, heavenly visitations, near-death experiences, as well as modern-day prophecies that are relevant to us today. So tune in each week and share it with your friends. After all, they could use a little inspiration in their life, too. That's the Watchman on the Wall podcast, and now you can find us on YouTube. We return you now to Dana Coverstone and his dreams of a financial crisis.
We realize that as hyperinflation comes, and as they keep printing money, at some point, you have to pay the piper. And I've done my best with my family to get out of debt. I've done my best to take care of getting our cars and things paid for. And right now, thankfully, we're doing pretty well. So we've got some medical bills, and God's taking care of those. But here's the thing. You've got to think about your future financially. Because a lot of people are just thinking, I've got money here. Everything's going to be okay. There's a lot of people in the church that are not woke up enough to realize the things that are happening. And folks, these These economic things will impact your spiritual life. They will impact your spiritual life. They will impact your ability to provide for your family if you're not thinking ahead and taking care of yourself. I'm not saying anything. I'm not an economist. I'm a pastor, okay? But I can tell you this, in 30 years of full-time ministry, I've heard a lot of stories from people who made stupid mistakes and did crazy investments and lost everything. And I know people who have done very, very well to watch and maintain their pennies and squeeze things together and get their houses paid off and cars paid off and try to take care of things. I know people who have been tithers, who have been blessed financially, and tithers who have struggled financially. I've seen it all. But the one thing that we've got to understand is there is a coming financial crisis that I believe is already here. It started. Warren Buffett made a comment about hyperinflation being here and inflation rates going up. And the markets just dropped. And then Powell and Yellen from our economic groups here in this country said, oh, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. I will flat out say, I don't believe any of the financial words coming out of our leadership in Washington, because it is obvious to everybody who's looking and realizing what's happening, this can't keep going. And someday, somehow, somewhere, there's going to be a crash. Now, am I saying it's going to happen tomorrow? No. But I'm saying this, you better be thinking. You better be watching. There's a real estate bubble right now. Someone just mentioned that. You know, there was also a blue bubble back in the 90s, I remember, that just went downhill. You're watching the stock markets. You know, the stock markets go up and down based on what a person says. I think it was E.F. Hutton. Was it E.F. Hutton? The commercials in the 80s. When E.F. Hutton speaks, everybody listens. I think that was it. If I'm wrong, tell me. But if I'm right, let me know too. But nonetheless, folks, we're at a time where you need to be saying, okay, God, what do I do? What do I do? Someone just mentioned, and we're seeing this also, people are fleeing the cities because the cities are out of control. Someone just mentioned stocks. The only stocks that really are probably worth investing in are the commodity stocks, those things that are going up. And I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying there's a lot of sham. There's a lot of sham, and sham comes from the word shambles. And if it's a sham, it's because you will be in shambles if you do it, if you believe it, if you follow through with it. So what am I saying today? I'm trying to tell you, folks, thank you. It was E.F. Hutton. Those of us that grew up in the 70s and the 80s, the music was really good and the commercials were really good. Nowadays, I wouldn't give you a dime for any of this out there, but nonetheless. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say, believer, there's been warnings for a long time from a lot of people. Do your best to get your house in order. Someone just mentions fertilizer. I had a guy in my church that bought fertilizer this last week. He said it was absolutely exorbitant. It was ridiculous what he had to pay. Just this morning in my Pray With Me podcast, I shared the fact that the International Energy Agency is telling Western governments to stockpile. It's on Zero Hedge. They're telling Western governments to stockpile battery elements like cobalt and lithium. What's that tell you? There's a Ford factory with 22,000 Ford trucks parked outside that won't work yet because they can't get the chips. And another headline just this morning I saw said we may not be through the chip shortage until 2022. And think about how many medical devices, think about how many things in your house use a chip, a microchip. So we are seeing this incredible storm of things coming together. And for me, what it says is wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm giving you a financial warning. I don't know what that means. I need you to pray and say, okay, God, what do I do with what I know? What do I do with what the Word says? What do I do with the headlines? There are some headlines that don't bother me at all, but there are some headlines that just get my attention, and my eyes are drawn, and I begin to pray, okay, Lord, what does this mean? Why do I need to share this? What's happening? There's a lot of stuff that runs on batteries, a lot of stuff that runs on microchips. We're seeing lumber go up. We're seeing steel, iron ore, and steel, once again, the highest it's ever been in recorded history. And yes, I do have some extra insulin on hand for some of those reasons too. Folks, you got to think, God, what do I do with what I know? And Lord, Lord, what do I do because of what Pastor Dana said? No, you say, Lord, what do I do because of what you want me to do? We need to hear from the Lord, folks. We need to hear from the Lord. The whole concept, and it's not about the dreams, I'm telling you, the whole concept to brace yourself was get ready for the things that were coming. And to brace yourself, you get the supplies, the things you need. Sometimes you tie yourself to the pole so the water doesn't sweep you overboard. And we've got to understand that there's a lot going on. A lot going on. So folks, I'm challenging you. Please, 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 as believers, get your financial house in order. Get your financial house in order. If you don't have, look, the dollar's not going to last much longer. There's no doubt about that. And we do know the Antichrist will come. The Antichrist is coming. One day this will be an Antichrist enclave in this country. And to buy and sell, you're going to need a mark. So we know there'll be a cashless society. A cashless but very well marked society. We're already seeing, and if you caught my podcast, the Pray With Me this morning, I talked about a guy that was in Nature magazine that was mentioning getting the UN involved to make sure people get their, trying to be real careful because I know they're watching and monitoring that specific words, those words. But, and you think about the ridiculousness of that. The ridiculousness of that. And now they're talking about doing that with younger students. I really encourage you to avoid it if at all possible. I understand there are high-risk people that I don't have a lot of confidence in it, okay? Matter of fact, I will say this. I have no confidence in that at all whatsoever. But you got to pray. You got to see. It can't be, well, I'm not getting it because my pastor's not. You need to know for yourself why you're not getting it. You need to do your due diligence, your due research, and anything else that comes down the pike. Because these passports could end up being a whole lot more than we think of. I could see passports leading to train cars, and I do realize what I just said. When the entire world is saying, oh, we better do this, we better do this. And those that have had it are still wearing masks. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't line up. There's something going on. All of us know that Washington, D.C. is an absolute mess. It's not ran by people. It's ran by positions. It's ran by an underground swamp. We understand that. We know that. And you look what's happened to money and currency, what America used to be. Yeah, the my body, my choice works for them, but not for us. I want to stay true to where we're at today. You see, the coming financial crisis, I believe, is here. It's not next week. It's not tomorrow. It's already started. It's been going on for quite a while. How long? I don't know. But it's going. And we as believers had better be wise as serpents, gentle, that we better be praying and saying, okay, God, what do I do? I'm not giving advice. I'm simply saying this. You need to pray and ask the Lord how to prepare, what to do. And saying, okay, God, because of things I'm learning and hearing and seeing, what do I do? Once again, I don't want to give it. I'm not giving advice. When I first put that dream out, it was to 1,100 people 1,100 friends on Facebook. That was it. We're at 1,042 people watching right now. That was about how many people I shared that dream with. Okay. Obviously, it was the sovereignty of God that it went viral like it did. But the things that I said on there was, trying to find some alternative funds for currency like silver or gold. I mentioned guns and ammo, which are very, very hard to find today. I talked about storable food. I didn't do that to cause a reaction. Once again, 1,100 friends became over 3 million that saw it. Matter of fact, that video became the fastest shared video in Facebook last year for a while. I never saw it coming. But I look back now and I'm thankful. I've had people in Texas who have emailed me and called me personally and said, thank you so much because I did those things you told me to do or said I should do. And once again, I did say, folks, I'm not saying you have, I said you need to pray about this and ask the Lord what to do. And I'm thankful that many of you did that. Because I'm not taking that dream or any other dream back. I know it made a lot of people mad, but the things that we're seeing right now, and I have an urgency, an absolute urgency in my heart, my mind, and deep in my spirit right now to tell people to be prepared and to get ready for the things that are coming. Because there is an acceleration process that is going on at this moment. It's happening, folks. So pray. Get with other believers and talk and find out what they're doing and what you can do. We need a network of believers to be a community in their neighborhoods, their areas, to help others, because if you're just stockpiling food for your family, you're missing it. You may be the one that helps the whole neighborhood. I believe God will take care of us and provide for us, but we have a responsibility. We have a strong responsibility to take care of our fellow man, brothers and sisters in Christ around us. So churches, I'm telling you, wake up to what's going on. Pastors, talk about this stuff. Stop refusing to address the headlines that American Christians need to know about and what's going on. Of all the things I do, I probably hear more people say, thank you for sharing headlines, than anything else. And I can tell you, pastors that might be listening, your people need and want to know what's happening out there. And they want to hear from the Bible a response about how to deal with those things. And that's why I'm sharing the stuff I'm sharing today. Because I've seen the writing on the wall, and the writing on the wall is not good. So, folks, believers, do what you can to make a difference, not just for your family, but for your neighbor and your friends. So, folks, think about this, and more than anything, pray about it. Pray about what you do. Pray about where God takes you. Pray about how you can make a difference in your neighborhood when things get really bad. Because it's going to get really bad. And we need to know where our trust is. He's our provider. He's our supplier. And I'm grateful that he never leaves us or forsakes us. So God bless, folks, and thanks for being a part of this today.
Hello again, this is the Watchman. Please join us on our new video channel called Encounters from Beyond the Veil. It's the same exciting content as our audio podcast, but in a shorter, but yet a video format. Also, please subscribe so you won't miss any of our episodes. That's Encounters from Beyond the Veil, exclusively found on YouTube. Well, thanks again for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends. Also, give us a like. We welcome any comments or suggestions you might have. We also ask you to subscribe so that you will be notified of all our future episodes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on the Watchman on the Wall podcast.